Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl, the Brooke Ashley, and today we are here to discuss The Real Housewives of New Jersey, Season 13, Episode 2. And first things first, I know the premiere episode felt a bit slow, but I think that they have finally picked up the pace. I like how we're getting to know the new ladies slowly but surely. The drama is heating up. We see that it's Jen versus Margaret, and now it's Teresa and Melissa for the 50 millionth time. I know that I've said this quite a few times. I said it in the premiere recap, but it is evident that they just don't like each other. They don't see it for one another. And just because they're bonded by being sister-in-laws, it's just not in the cards for them to be close. And I want them both to just accept that, move on, and walk away. Because if I'm being honest, I don't have another season in me to still watch them go at it like this. I want them to just go their separate ways and be at peace. But y'all, let me not jump ahead. Let's just get right on into it because you guys already know that we don't have a minute to spare. Now, we open up this episode right where we left it off last week with Dolores and Jen having that blowout fight at the calendar shoot. So, of course, in usual Jen fashion, she storms out the party, screaming, yelling, cursing. And I said, have you guys noticed that there's a pattern with Jen where she's always the first to leave a party, whether it's because she got into an argument with somebody or because her and Bill got too drunk? And I promise you, I'm trying to be as objective as possible when it comes to Jennifer Aydin, but y'all, she annoys me to no end. And the way she was acting in the car when she and Bill were on their way back home, and he was trying to calm her down, like, babe, it's okay, just stop all this. And she's like, Bill, like, don't tell me to be quiet, like, shut up. And it's just like, girl, all that is just so unnecessary. And I also get the impression that Jen is really feeling herself since she's been on this show now for 5 years, because I feel like back in the day, she would not be screaming at Bill like that. I don't know. I just feel like this show has definitely gassed Jen's head up a lot because now she has some money of her own. She has some notoriety and some fame. Now she's talking to Bill any old way. I said, okay, girl. But Jen is going on about how Dolores pretty much gave her the FU and how she has to mourn this loss of their friendship. Now, in my opinion, right, I feel like Jen went about this the wrong way. Because if you were dying to talk to Dolores, all you had to do was pick up the phone and call her. That's what I would have done. You chose to badmouth Dolores on social media, along with you see Dolores out at events, and instead of talking to her, you're avoiding her and talking about her in front of her face. If I feel like I need to talk to somebody, get something off of my chest, I'm going to approach them directly. I don't really have a whole lot of time for people being passive aggressive. I would like for you to be direct. And I know a lot of you guys feel like Dolores is a flip-flopper, always trying to play Switzerland. And yes, I agree with that as well. But in this case, I do feel like all Jen had to do was just be direct and reach out to Dolores directly and said, hey, can we just talk, you and I? Because my feelings are hurt about what happened at the reunion and I want to resolve this. But I just feel like Jen made a bad situation even worse. So now we flip to Dolores telling all the ladies what happened and why things escalated between her and Jen. She's like, I was a good friend to Jen. She went around talking about me to all of you guys. Like, who does that? Then she adds that she was on Jen's side all of last year and how she went against everybody in this group to defend Jen. So she feels insulted that Jen is pretty much questioning her loyalty. Like, girl, I was there for you. And then Dolores says that she's pretty much done with Jen. She's not trying to have that sort of energy in her life. Now, again, like I had just said a few minutes ago, this could have been a simple conversation in my opinion. I just think that they're both so angry. Jen being passive aggressive, talking about Dolores to other people, instead of being direct, that's what's made this even worse. Now, when we jump to this next scene with Teresa at home, she's on FaceTime with Louis' assistant, and they're going over her wedding invitations. They've invited 200 people. She wants this wedding to be over the top. Now, we do know that in seasons past, Teresa loves to spend a cute coin and have a very lavish party. So I already know that this wedding is about to be over the top. And then we see that the wedding is 67 days away. Now, since we're on the topic of Teresa and Louis' wedding, right? In the trailer for this season, we do see clips of Teresa and Louis' wedding, but I remember hearing a few months ago that the wedding is not going to be shown this season of Jersey. Teresa and Louis are getting a spin-off, and we're going to see the wedding play out there. And I'm curious to know how much they're spending. But Lord knows they spent more money than Robin and Juan Dixon. But again, let me not bring up Potomac, okay? Let's just stick to Jersey. But now we jump to Joe and Melissa at home. They're packing to go to LA because Melissa is presenting, I think, at the MTV Movie Awards, and she's presenting with Teresa. So Melissa's like, it's gonna be a bit awkward because me and her are barely speaking. Now I said, Melissa, surely you can just put your feelings aside, collect your check, and just tune out the BS, okay? Don't let your personal feelings interfere with the bag, sis. And if I'm being honest, I'm getting a bit tired of every time we see Melissa and Joe in a scene together that the only topic is Teresa and Louis. It's enough. Either you guys are going to make an effort to come together, put all the mess in the past and forgive each other and move on, or go your separate ways. Because all this moping around in every single scene, I'm sick of it. It's been so many seasons of the same old thing. And I've said this several times. I just feel like it might not be in the cards for you guys to be close. For whatever reason, you guys can't seem to get on the same page. So instead of hurting yourselves even more, instead of torturing yourselves, make peace with the fact that you guys might have to love each other from a distance. And by no means am I defending Teresa, because I feel like Teresa is as wrong as two left shoes, okay? Like, let's be real. I was calling Teresa out all last season, but I just think that for Melissa and Joe, for their sanity, if you know that this person does not like you, doesn't see it for you, regardless of you guys being family, you have to cut it off. It's been the same song and dance for a decade. And I want them all to be tired of talking about this and fighting about this and crying about this. Like, when is enough enough? If me, a viewer, is tired, then surely you guys must be exhausted. Now we jump over to Danielle and her kids going over to Jen Aiden's house. Now, I thought it was so funny because Danielle was like, oh my gosh, Jen's house is like Caesar's Palace in Paramus. And I still remember when Jen first came on the show and she gave the ladies a tour of the house and they were all like, I mean, it's big and all, but it's real tacky. All this furniture from China, really? And then Margaret was like, yeah, it's like the Taj Mahal in here. And one thing about it, Jen loves all the attention when it comes to her wealth. Because she was talking about, oh yeah, kids, have a good time. We have a movie theater, a basketball court, knock yourself out. I said, yeah. I mean, when it comes to Jen, she will find any reason to brag. So the kids go down to play, and now it's just Danielle and Jen talking. And Danielle wants to know, how is Jen feeling after the calendar photo shoot? So Jen says that she's tired of Dolores treating her like nothing, and she says that she's done. I feel like Jen always acts like a victim. I really do, because Jen is no wallflower. Like, Jen will get in the dirt with you when she's arguing. So for her to act like people just punch her around all day, that's not really the case. Again, Jen is not a victim in this. So now Danielle comforts Jen and she points out the weird dynamic that Jen has with the other women. So she goes on to say that she felt the closest connection to Jen and how they're so similar. Now I said, Danielle, I understand that you're a newbie, but let's not with all the ass kissing. I didn't see any great connection between you and Jen in the last episode. I feel like you're just saying that because you're filming a scene with her, but you don't have to lie, sis. Because if I recall, you and Teresa knew each other prior. And I'm sure that Teresa is the one who recommended you for the show. So now all of a sudden is, oh yeah, I felt the closest connection to Jen. Like, I don't believe that. I think that these new women get on these shows and they're trying to align themselves with whoever they feel is going to take them to the top. And I think that Danielle realizes that Jen brings a lot of drama, and drama is a good thing, and drama will keep you on this show. Because again, I didn't see any big connection between her and Jen, but Danielle, I guess. So now Danielle brings up the conversation that she had with Margaret at the calendar shoot, and how Margaret revealed to her that some stuff had gone down between her and Jen last year. So now Jen says, well, speaking of Margaret, let's call up Teresa because I want to find out how her meetup with Margaret went the other day. So they FaceTime Teresa. Teresa says that Margaret came over to her house and things went well. They're at peace. She apologized, and how it was a very real and raw moment for the both of them. Then Teresa says that it was a breath of fresh air, and I think she said it was a fresh of breath air, and they were like, girl, what? One thing about Teresa, she will always screw up an expression.
Okay.
That was very raw, very real. And I was like, I'm sorry.
Did she apologize?
No, but we communicated. I was like, wow, this is a fresher breath air. That's how I felt.
A breath of fresh air, honey.
So because Jen is messy, she brings up Margaret's ex-best friend, Laura. And my first thought was, what does Margaret's ex-best friend have to do with all this? So come to find out, Margaret's former best friend, Laura, is a thirsty, desperate clown who has been trying to reach out to Jen and Teresa to spill some dirt on Margaret.
Who's Laura?
Well, Laura is Margaret's ex-best friend. They had some sort of falling out, and this Laura was trying to get in touch with me and Teresa to just tell us stuff.
But of course, Jen lets us know that despite her feeling suspicious about Laura, she still sat down to hear what Miss Laura had to say. And Laura told Teresa and Jen that Margaret actually takes the time to dig up information on everybody in this group. Now, do I believe that? Yes. But on the flip side of that, didn't Jen do the same thing to Jackie when it came to the cheating rumors about Evan? So for Jen to act like, isn't that awful? Margaret's digging up information on all of us. But sis, you low-key did the same thing. And let's be very clear. When you're on one of these reality shows, you have everybody's former enemies, former best friends, cousins, aunts, uncles coming out the woodwork to reveal some information about the folks on the show. So the same way that Margaret has an ex-best friend reaching out to you, I'm sure there are several people in your past, Jen, who are reaching out to your castmates with dirt on you. And we saw that somebody reached out to Margaret about Bill's affair. So I said, keep it real cute, sis, because you guys are all gathering info on each other. So now you have Jen in her confessional saying that she has some information that she's not going to reveal just yet unless Margaret pisses her off. And I said, okay, girl. Again, y'all all know some information about each other and you guys wait until they have pissed you off to reveal it. So again, none of you guys are innocent. Now, may I just reveal my theory on this whole entire mess regarding Margaret's ex-best friend, Laura? I personally feel like Laura is jealous that Margaret is on this show because I have said this many times. Being cast on a Real Housewives franchise is like winning the lottery. This is a very coveted position to have. People would give their right arms to be on the show. The notoriety, the publicity, the platform, the money, the free trips. If you play your cards right, the endorsements, the opportunities to be on other shows, the list goes on and on and on. And jealousy is real. So best believe that the fallout between Margaret and her best friend is out of jealousy because she probably asked Margaret to hook her up to be on the show. And when it didn't happen, now she wants to fall out with Margaret and tell all of Margaret's secrets. That's some real lame and real loser behavior. And Laura, if you think that Teresa and Jen are going to be the ones to put you on the show, you are sadly mistaken. And again, you look so thirsty and pathetic at your big grown age, trying to expose your friend for what? I live by the motto of what's for me will never miss me, so I couldn't even see myself stooping to such levels to gain some clout. That's embarrassing. Sort of like Ashley's pathetic friend lying on somebody's husband, and now everybody in America is calling you Sesame Street and making fun of your appearance. Was it worth it, sis? Like Monique said, when you do clownery, the clown comes back to bite. And Laura, you're sitting up here making yourself look crazy. Now we jump to Margaret having a cute little lunch at her house. All the ladies are over. Dolores, her friend Jen Fessler, Jackie, her assistant, and Melissa are there. So they have some sushi, some wine, you know, the usual. Now, may I quickly say that Jackie being demoted to friend of the show, while I'm here for it because I feel like her storyline ran its course, I always wonder how they feel to go from main cast member with a tagline, a big check, to now being a friend of. But when you think about it, you really can't feel sorry for Jackie being demoted because being a friend of the show is still a lot better than not being on the show at all. Because I'm willing to bet that millions of women would kill to be in her spot. So I don't feel too bad for Jackie. She'll be okay. Life's not that bad. I also want to add that Margaret's friend, Jennifer Fessler, she's not doing it for me. She seems a bit corny. I'm kind of bored. She obviously wants to be a full-time cast member, in my opinion, but she's not giving what the girl said she was supposed to have gave in the words of Rolling Ray. Like, I'm like, okay, sis, you're doing a bit too much. We're kind of bored. Yeah. Like, it's clear that she's trying to have a moment in every scene. And then finding out that she's friends with Siggy, I said, oh, girl. And Siggy is a nut. And have you seen Siggy on social media lately? She has a lot of crazy thoughts. I'm gonna just keep it at that. It's giving very much January 6th. Okay, if you know, you know. But anyhow, they're drinking some wine, talking, and now Margaret wants them to play this sex game. She's asking all these questions, and I'm like, really? Now, I am nobody's prude, but this game, for some reason, just felt so forced. Like, I don't know. I was like, you guys are clearly doing this for a moment. The questions were stupid. I think one of them was like, what sex act makes you feel guilty? And I was like, what? Again, this game just fell flat to me. Like I said, I'm nobody's prude, but if we're gonna play a game about sex questions, at least make the questions good and juicy. These questions were just stupid. But of course, Teresa gets brought up in the conversation, and Melissa wants to know, how did the meetup at Teresa's house go? And Margaret says it actually went really well. We cleared the air, we settled our differences, and things are good. So now Dolores jumps in, and she starts talking about her gripes with Jen. She says that Jen is a dangerous person, and how she was a great friend to Jen and doesn't deserve this treatment. So now Margaret interjects, and she says that she feels bad for Jen because she thought that she genuinely made up with Jen, but to find out that her and Teresa went behind her back and talked to her ex-best friend Laura to get some dirt on her, she says, I feel played because here I am thinking that we're all good, but now you want to reach out and talk to somebody who can't stand me? Like, who does that? So Margaret says that there was a mole in Jen's camp who came to her and told her what Jen and Teresa did. So she goes on to say that Jen is an inauthentic bitch. So I said, okay, it's about to be Margaret versus Jen for the 1000th time. Because if I'm being real, Margaret and Jen haven't liked each other ever. When Jen first came on this show, they were going at it. So I'm not surprised to see that things are about to go left yet again. Now, Margaret, while I do agree with you that Jen is inauthentic, very disingenuous, you do know that Jen is very petty. With Jen, you always have to keep one eye open. I think that Margaret was a bit too naive to think that things could go back to being normal between her and Jen, especially with what happened last season. And another thing, Jen is always going to hustle for a storyline to stay on this show. So again, Margaret, you acting like, well, I feel played. You played yourself, actually trusting that Jen would put this behind you guys and you guys would be friends. The short scene with Dolores over at Paulie's house was cute. Paulie has a really nice home, by the way. It definitely suits him. But they're talking about the dynamic between her and Frank, and he's like, Frank does not have to be in your life all like that anymore because you got me now. Like, I'm your man. And I was here for it. I said, that's right, Paulie. Let everybody know. And once again, I think that Frank is really threatened by Dolores having a relationship because that means with Paulie in, then that means that he's out. And if he's out, he won't be collecting a Bravo check anymore. And no shade, but what does Frank do again? I remember he was a lawyer, but he got disbarred like 3 seasons ago. Then he was doing construction, if I'm not mistaken. It just seems like he does a little bit of everything, but these Bravo checks are his main source of income. But again, I digress. But yeah, I'm just happy that Dolores has found a man who really adores her and treats her very well because she deserves. We see everybody receive their invitations for Teresa and Louis' wedding. The invitations were gorgeous. And of course, Melissa and Joe are like, oh yeah, it's pretty, but isn't this sad that we're not even speaking? So of course, Joe brings up the LA trip, how Melissa and Teresa presented at the MTV Movie Awards, and it was awkward. So then Joe says, I thought that Joe Giudice was the bad seed. We got him out the picture. And now we have another bad seed entering the family, which is Louis. And then Melissa says that she's gone the other way and it's really sad to watch. Once again, I'm going to need for Melissa and Joe to talk about something else because I am tired. Can we hear about your house renovations? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the kids, something. But I mean, come on. Every single scene is about Teresa and Louis. It's enough. Now we get to the final scene of the episode, and it is the day of Danielle's mozzarella party. Now I love some cheese. I love mozzarella. So my mouth was watering when they were making the mozzarella. I was like, I need that. I need to be at this party. I was low-key drooling at one point. But anyhow, we see that Danielle has a bar set up. She's excited for all them to come over. And I think Teresa was the first one to arrive. So Danielle is telling her like, oh my gosh, I loved your invitations. They were beautiful. And we find out from Teresa that Miss Ramona from Real Housewives of New York ruined the entire thing. She posted up the picture of Teresa's invitations, and you can see the address and the date of where the wedding is going to be held at. And Teresa's like, because of that, I have to send out new invitations. Like, it's a whole mess. Now, if you watch New York, then you know that Ramona has always been an idiot and an asshole. So it was no surprise that she would do something so stupid. Like, who does that? And then I saw on a recent interview that Ramona did that not only did she not go to Teresa's wedding, but she didn't even send them a gift. So I said, you nearly ruined Teresa's wedding by revealing the location and the time and the day. She had to send out brand new invitations that I'm sure cost a pretty penny, and for you to have the audacity to not even attend her wedding or send a gift, like how tacky. Ramona might have a whole bunch of money, but she will always be lowbrow. and low class. She's such an obnoxious and entitled Karen. It's just sick. And if Ramona had any class, she would have offered to pay for a new batch of invitations. But we see all the ladies arrive. Rachel's there. Teresa arrives. Dolores is there. And they're having some drinks waiting for Margaret and Melissa. So now Rachel wants to know, where do Dolores and Jen stand? Dolores says, girl, I'm done. Like, I'm tired of Jen and her BS. I'm over it. Now, I thought it was really funny that Teresa was like, I'm not trying to take sides here. And I said, well, isn't that interesting? The woman who's always telling somebody, you need to be on my side. Now, all of a sudden, she wants to play Switzerland. So now we see Margaret and Melissa arrive, and now Jen arrives. Dolores is annoyed. She's like, I want to smash her effing face in. She is not here for Jen whatsoever. Now, I forgot who asked, but one of them asked if Jackie was invited, and Danielle was like, well, I mean, I wasn't really feeling the vibe between her. And I was like, girl, what? Because I don't know what Jackie did to you for you to feel that way. And then you have Jen saying, yeah, I know what you mean because Jackie's a snob. And I said, wait a second. Jen is the epitome of a snob. And she's calling Jackie a snob? Just because Jackie got you together that season when she said, girl, I don't have to brag. I'm the richest on this cast and we have a home in the Hamptons. Ever since she checked you on that, you've been real salty about it because Jen is somebody who wants to have the most in any group. So when she meets somebody who has more than she does, now she wants to label them as a snob. And I loved how Margaret said, well, if we're being honest, everybody in this group is a bit uppity. Let's not act like everybody here is just so humble and down to earth. Like, that's really not the case. So Jen, let's not do that. So now Jen addresses Rachel because Rachel called her a hypocrite in the last episode when they were at the calendar shoot. So Margaret's like, well, why did Rachel call you that? And Jen says, because of all the stuff that happened between us last season. So Margaret is instantly annoyed. She's like, now girl, I thought that you and I had settled the beef from last year. Like, let's move forward. Let's not go backwards. Jen said, you're going to get it again and again and again.
And you're gonna always get it again and again and again.
But now it's time for them to make the mozzarella. And like I said, my mouth was watering during this scene. I thought it was so funny how they were all getting turned on by making the mozzarella. Melissa was like, why are we getting horny over cheese? Did anybody notice how weird Jen Fessler was eating the mozzarella? I said, girl, why are you stuffing your mouth like that? I was like, what's going on? You don't have food at home? So just when we think that they're all gonna have a good time and be at peace, you have Margaret pull Jen to the side and things go left immediately. So Margaret says, was last year real to you? Because it was real to me. When we reconciled, when I apologized to you, I thought that we were on the path to being friends. Because hearing you bring up last year again, and then me finding out that you're reaching out to my ex-friend to get dirt on me, I'm confused. I feel played. I just feel like if me and you are going to be on a good path, then why are you doing this? So Jen does admit that yes, she was in contact with Margaret's ex-friend, but she says that Margaret's friend is the one who was reaching out to her. So she says, all I said was, let me just hear her out. That's it. So at this point, they start yelling. The conversation is really heated. Margaret's like, just say that you made a mistake and that you're wrong. Like, you're a sick girl. You do know that, right? So here goes Jen talking about, really? I don't want to be friends with somebody who thinks that I'm disingenuous. Like, who are you? What you think about me doesn't affect me. So I just said, I don't know why this conversation had to go left. All Jen had to say was, yes, Margaret, I low-key still feel a way about last year. I wanted some get back, so I heard your friend out. She said X, Y, and Z about you, and it wasn't right, but I did it. You can tell when somebody's officially over something and when they've moved on, and you can tell when somebody's still angry. And in this case, you can tell that Jen still wants revenge about Margaret outing Bill's affair. I think that Jen just has a problem with being upfront. It's too much of this passive-aggressive behavior. In my personal opinion, that's what I see. I would have more respect if she would just own up to what she does and say, yeah, girl, I did it, and what? And I'm not sorry about it, and I would do it again. I would respect that a whole lot more. So now Margaret walks off. She's like, you know what, Jen? You need help. You're paranoid, and I'm concerned. So now Margaret goes back to join the other ladies. They're all confused. Like, again, how did this go left? You guys were just talking. Now you're screaming at each other. Like, what happened? So Jen is upset that Margaret's talking about her in front of her face. And so Jen turns around and says, Margaret, don't talk about me. So Margaret says, look, I'm grown. I'm having a grown conversation with these ladies. Like, you stay out of it. You have a problem with everybody. So now, of course, Dolores turns around, and now her and Dolores go at it. So now Jen says that Dolores doesn't care about her. And Dolores says, look, Jen, if you have an issue with me, say it to my face. Don't go behind my back telling everybody else. That's all I'm trying to say to you. So while Dolores and Jen are going back and forth, you have Margaret's friend, Jen Fessler, jumping in, and she's like, you guys both need to own up to what you guys did. You guys have both hurt each other. And Dolores had me screaming. She said, Jen Fessler, this is not the time or the place. This is an A and B conversation. See your way out. Like, I'm not doing this with you today, girl. You don't even know the ins and the outs, so I suggest that you be quiet before I read you down. And the way Jen Fessler stuffed that last piece of mozzarella in her mouth, she said, okay, like, all right, shut me up then. But I was screaming because Dolores was looking like, baby, I am not the one or the two. And when I get finished cursing her out, I'm gonna curse you out next, so stay out of it. I said, Jen Fessler, learn your place, earn your spot, in the words of MC Deborah, okay?
You not fab like that to be doing all of that. Learn your place, earn your spot.
So at this point, Dolores and Jen sort of come to this resolution. Dolores says, I'm cool with being in the same place as you. Let's just leave it at that. I'm done. Dolores walks away to join the other women, and now it's just Jen and Teresa talking to the side. And Jen is like, oh my gosh, girl, at your wedding, don't sit me near any of these women. We're all fighting. Like, put me up in the bleachers. So now Teresa walks over to everybody else, and she's like, guys, I want to ask you all, what do you think about me having no seating arrangements at my wedding? You all can sit wherever you guys want. So now Margaret says, well, actually, that might be a good idea because we saw what happened last time you had seating arrangements at your engagement party. So now Teresa says, well, Melissa and Joe asked to sit elsewhere at my engagement party. They were welcome to sit with us. So now Melissa says, now girl, I know you're not about to sit up here and tell a lie like that because we all know that that is not true. You had us at the other table with your hairdresser. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, you had Louie's whole family, you had Dina, and your kids all at the family table. So again, don't even sit up here on camera and tell the lie that we had the option to be at your table. That's not the case, and you know it. So now Teresa's like, that's not true at all. Why would I not want my only brother to sit at the family table? I said, now, Teresa, we're not going to play this game. We know that you and your brother have not gotten along in over a decade. And it's been a lot of bad blood. And you have said a lot of nasty things about your own brother. You called him a bitch boy on national TV last year. And you told his wife that she wasn't going to be in the bridal party. And then you also told your brother that he wasn't going to walk you down the aisle. So let's not. For you to act like you wouldn't do that to your own brother is comical. I believe every word of what Melissa and Joe are saying, that you had them purposely sitting at the table with friends. And then when Teresa swore on her parents and her kids' lies that she was telling the truth, I said, Teresa, don't do that. So now they bring up the reunion drama from last year. And when I tell you, it just felt like we are going in circles at this point. It's the same argument. Like, again, are you guys not tired? Because I know that I'm tired. The venom that they both have for each other, you could just feel the hate. It just just jumped out the screen. I said, y'all don't need to be near each other. You guys are not meant to be close, and that's okay. Save yourself the heartache, the pain, and the trouble, and just stay away from each other. Why is that so hard? Melissa, let the dream die of having this close-knit relationship with Teresa. It's not going to happen. Let it go and move on. Make peace with it. I know it's sad, I know it sucks, but it is what it is. Teresa revealing that the reason why she didn't ask Melissa to be in her wedding is the fact that she was mad that Melissa wasn't putting Margaret in her place when Margaret was talking about Louis. So Melissa says, stop putting this on me. I told Margaret several times to just leave it alone, like stop bringing Louis up. So they're going back and forth, and Melissa says that all roads always lead back to me, and I'm tired of it. And that's where the episode ends, with Melissa and Teresa going at it with no end in sight. And I don't know how many times I can say that this is a very sad and toxic dynamic, and they won't see any resolve or any peace unless they get some professional help. But I don't see that happening. And at this point, it's just time to go their separate ways, period. I know it's going to hurt. I know it's going to be painful, but it's really the only way, because they're both torturing themselves in this toxic cycle. They don't like each other. I think that the basis of it starts with jealousy, competition, there's resentment. It's a lot, and it's not going to be resolved or get unpacked anytime soon. So for the time being, they need to just put a stop to this dynamic and just say, let's take a break from each other and try to come back in a few years and see if we can do it. But at this rate, I don't see them ever getting along. And then finding out that Joe and Melissa ended up skipping out and not going to the wedding, that right there is the nail in the coffin. Just a mess. But this episode was entertaining. I was here for it. Jersey is heating up, and I'm excited to see what the rest of the season brings. But you guys, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and you guys already know what to do. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all later. Bye.